It was a whole little internet moment. Me today, you'll never see that from me ever again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the situation is, we're gonna try to, feel me, maneuver it another way that is not even, I don't want no negative. I'm trying to go positive, you know what I'm saying?
This interview took place back in 2021, at a time when Lil TJ was at the peak of his career. He spoke openly about positivity, growth, and staying focused on music. At that moment, his future looked promising and stable. Looking back now, those words feel distant, almost disconnected from where he would eventually end up. In just a few short years, the image Lil TJ had carefully built began to crack. Fast forward to the present, and within a span of only 5 months, Lil TJ became involved in 4 separate controversies. Each incident brought a new wave of criticism and online backlash. Rather than stepping away from the spotlight or attempting to de-escalate the situations, TJ appeared to embrace the attention, even when it worked against him. The more criticism he received, the deeper he seemed to lean into behavior that only fueled it further. To understand how things reached this point, it's important to look at where Lil TJ came from and how his career originally took off. Lil TJ emerged during the transitionary SoundCloud era, a time when melodic rap and emotional street narratives were dominating online platforms. His style blended singing with gritty realism, which helped him stand out.
Friends who kill. I said, over me, I'm a streamer. Like, bro, I swear to God.
What was even more surprising was that TJ called out Kai Cenat. And
songs like Calling My Phone gained massive traction on YouTube, where his rise felt organic rather than manufactured. At the time, he represented the new wave of artists redefining hip-hop for a younger audience. Throughout these early years, Lil TJ received the usual amount of criticism that comes with fame, but nothing overwhelming. His fan base remained strong and his momentum continued to build. One of his earliest public controversies involved internet drama with Ruby Rose. For his 19th birthday, TJ flew her out, but the situation turned sour when she discovered messages from other women on his phone. When she wanted to leave, he allegedly refused to pay for her flight, leading to her calling the police. The incident caused drama online, but
So stop looking at Yak like he's a weirdo. No, sometimes that's how rappers act. In our society, that's how we act, that's how we get.
it didn't significantly damage his reputation or alienate his core fans. At this stage in his career, Lil TJ was still winning. Signed to Columbia Records, his first 2 albums both reached number 5 on the Billboard charts. These were numbers most rappers can only dream of, and it solidified his place in the industry. Any lingering hate toward Lil TJ largely disappeared in 2022 after he was shot 7 times during a robbery.
Threatened me in the DMs. Like, he really threatened me in the DMs. He said, I got friends who kill. I said, over me, I'm a streamer. Like, bro, I swear to God.
The incident was nearly fatal, and his survival shocked many. Public sympathy poured in, and even critics expressed genuine concern and support. Surviving the shooting earned him respect on the streets and goodwill from fans who were simply happy to see him alive. The following year, Lil TJ released an album centered around his recovery and the trauma of being shot. While expectations were high, many listeners felt the project didn't live up to his earlier work. It debuted at number 24 on the Billboard charts, a noticeable drop compared to his previous releases. Reviews reflected this sentiment, with critics pointing out the absence of standout tracks that once defined his sound. As his popularity appeared to wane, it didn't seem coincidental that internet drama began to resurface. In 2024, headlines linked Lil TJ to Ice Spice, amid allegations that she cheated on her boyfriend with him. Around the same time, TJ was also dealing with multiple run-ins with the law. Still, none of this sparked the level of backlash that would soon follow. The real turning point came when Lil TJ underestimated the influence of streamers while overestimating his own remaining pull. On November 5, 2024, Kodak Black appeared on Kai Cenat's live stream in a moment that quickly went viral. Kodak appeared visibly impaired, raising concerns among viewers about his well-being and whether the stream should have been cut. Lil TJ publicly weighed in on the situation, criticizing Kai Cenat and Aiden Ross on Instagram, calling them D-Riders. His comments sparked a heated exchange with Aiden Ross, who responded by suggesting TJ should stop taking perks. That remark struck a nerve. TJ denied drug use and accused Aiden of stereotyping him, implying the comment was racially motivated.
But if I'ma keep it a buck, bro, like, I pulled up for Favi. Playboy, Black Boy Max, no disrespect. I deadass didn't know you. I deadass never heard of you. I pulled up for Favi, bro. Everywhere I go, I be smoking. I pay the fine. How much the cost, bro? Real shit, man. How much the shit cost, bro?
He also dismissed concerns about Kodak Black, claiming that his behavior was simply how rappers act. The back and forth escalated, with Aiden later stating that TJ had threatened him in private messages, allegedly saying he had friends who kill. What surprised many people was that TJ also took aim at Kai Cenat, someone who shared a similar Bronx upbringing. Kai later responded on stream, suggesting that TJ's outburst may have been motivated by upcoming music. Shortly afterward, TJ released an EP titled Farewell, marking the end of his contract with Columbia Records as he prepared to go independent. Without the backing of a major label, the project didn't receive the same level of promotion. Whether intentional or not, the timing made it appear as though TJ was using controversy to stay relevant. In January 2025, Lil TJ was invited to Black Boy Max's In the Booth livestream, where artists record music live. Max had rented an Airbnb and clearly stated one rule: no smoking inside. Despite agreeing to this, TJ and 5EO Foreign repeatedly smoked indoors. Max warned that triggering the fire alarm could shut down the stream and potentially get him banned from future locations. After multiple requests, the situation escalated, and TJ and 5EO eventually left. On the way out, 5EO refused to shake Max's hand and blew smoke in his direction. Later, Max explained that this was the first time any artist had disrespected his space in this way. Instead of apologizing, Lil TJ doubled down. He claimed he didn't.
I generally be minding my business, then some way, somehow, I get dragged in somewhere every single time. And I'm gonna just go ahead and think that a song or album or something about a drop, you feel me?
Know who Black Boy Max was and said he was willing to pay any fines. He framed the situation as a misunderstanding rooted in different upbringings, suggesting that politeness felt like disrespect to him. While he later admitted he had unfairly dissed Kai Cenat, he still refused to take accountability for smoking in someone else's home. Other streamers weighed in. Some attempted to contextualize TJ's reaction, but most emphasized that respect is universal. Kai Cenat openly criticized the behavior, rejecting the idea that being from New York excused it and urging TJ to take responsibility. Rather than letting the situation fade, TJ leaned further into it. 5EO released a diss track, and TJ sold merchandise mocking the incident. The public response was overwhelmingly negative, with many accusing him of clout chasing and entitlement. Just weeks later, in February 2025, Lil TJ attended a boxing match in Madison Square Garden. During an altercation with security, TJ allegedly spat on a guard. Regardless of how the incident started, the outcome was severe. He was permanently banned from all Madison Square Garden.
Shit, dumb fat. I already know you be wildin' that. That shit come back. That's one of them shits that you hit it and the rhythm just come back, but it's like too fat, so it's like you almost gotta just You can't let it jiggle too much. You won't f your rhythm. You gotta
Garden properties, including venues he had previously performed at. Spitting on a security guard shocked many people, as it was seen as a deeper level of disrespect than a physical altercation. The guard was simply doing his job, yet TJ's response escalated the situation beyond repair. The ban meant he would never again perform at iconic venues like Madison Square Garden or Radio City Music Hall. Once again, instead of distancing himself from the incident, TJ embraced it. He recreated Tupac's infamous 1994 paparazzi spitting moment by wearing the same outfit and later using it in his music video, Apex. While this drew attention, it also invited further criticism, with many accusing him of falsely equating his actions to a legendary moment in hip-hop history. Around the same time, TJ reignited conflict with Offset. He shared screenshots of alleged private messages and accused Offset of borrowing money and acting broke. While TJ claimed he eventually got paid back, he continued to publicly mock Offset on.
I don't take perks. I don't take drugs. I might sip lean a little now and then. Actually, less than you. Racist. I look like I take perks because I'm black, right? I know. I sent him a voice note about how I feel like your culture votes. He told me he's not watching that. He's watching the election. And that I need to stop taking perks. That's what he think about. He just grind his way to the top using that little face card he got.
Online. Offset initially ignored the comments, but later responded after the post gained traction through media pages. Despite TJ potentially having a valid grievance, public opinion largely sided with Offset due to TJ's recent behavior.
I was out there, because a lot of my people be wanting to smoke in my house, and I'm like, nah. But when they say they don't want to, a lot of people have respect and be like, nah, I bet I could respect that. Let me go outside or go to my car or whatever. Like, it's never that serious to smoke weed.
In damaged credibility. By this point, the pattern was clear. Within just a few months, Lil TJ had burned bridges with streamers, fellow artists, venues, and much of the public. While controversy kept his name circulating, it also raised serious concerns about his long-term future in the industry. Now independent, and without the marketing power of a major label, Lil TJ appears to be operating under the belief that all publicity is good publicity. But in an industry built on relationships, platforms, and reputation, the cost of constant conflict may be far greater than the attention it brings. Where Lil TJ goes from here remains uncertain, but his story has become a clear example of how quickly momentum can shift when accountability is replaced with defiance. Nothing ever officially came out of the situation with Offset after that exchange. There were no public apologies, no sit-down conversations, and no resolution that fans could point to. The issue simply faded into the background, not because it was resolved, but because another controversy was always waiting around the corner. By this point, many people weren't even focused on who was right or wrong anymore. The larger conversation had shifted to Lil TJ himself and the pattern that was becoming impossible to ignore. What stood out most was how often these incidents shared the same core issue. In almost every situation, Lil TJ reacted strongly to being told no, whether it came from a streamer, a security guard, or someone simply enforcing rules in their own space. Each time, instead of adjusting or walking away, he chose confrontation. Over time, this behavior reshaped how the public viewed him, turning sympathy into frustration.
Lil TJ finally woke up out of his situation. He's starting to do better. He's moving, he's talking. You think he could rebound his career? You think he's going to be bigger than ever?
I hope he is. I'm praying he is.
The industry also began to look at Lil TJ differently. Streamers had become one of the most powerful promotional tools in modern music, often breaking artists and driving massive exposure. By alienating figures like Kai Cenat, Aiden Ross, and Black Boy Max, TJ wasn't just creating
Yeah, you call yourself like what, the Miracle Kid?
Yeah, I am a miracle kid. Shit's a miracle. I got shot 7 times, all upper body, about a year ago, and I'm fine, you know?
I know, when you hear that, it sounds like, what the f***, like 7 shots?
Well, I mean, it's crazy too, because from 50 Cent from New York, he had a similar situation. Have you guys talked? Like, has he reached out to you at all?
Yeah, I spoke to 50 Cent. I had a cool conversation with 50. We spoke and took a little picture. It went viral. We ain't really like lock in like that, to be honest, though. It was just like, you feel me?
personal beefs, he was closing doors that many artists rely on. At the same time, being banned from major venues like Madison Square Garden placed real limits on where he could perform in the future. Without the backing of Columbia Records, these decisions carried even more weight. As an independent artist, TJ no longer had a major label to absorb damage, smooth over conflicts, or control narratives. Every controversy now landed directly on his shoulders, with no buffer between his actions and public reaction. Some fans argued that the internet exaggerated these moments, turning minor incidents into career.
And today's a new day, man. I'm chilling, man. I ain't trying to argue with nobody today. I ain't gonna lie. Real though, I swear. I'm going back to the old little TJ. I'm not arguing, bro. This is why I never like posting a lot, bro, because I can't control myself. Start getting out of hand and shit. Like, my fault for getting out of composure, y'all, man. May 8th, state of emergency, the mixtape dropping.
But unfortunately, the damage was done. and they've been at odds ever since. The reason I bring this up is not only because it sheds light on his capacity to crash out at a moment's notice, but because in actual fact, this situation with the high bridge artists actually plays a role in why he is now veering from dissing his fellow rappers to much less socially condoned antics of beefing with internet personalities, who have spent damn near their
career-ending scandals. But others pointed out that the incidents weren't isolated. They formed a clear timeline of escalating behavior, each one more damaging than the last. Instead of growth, people saw deflection. Instead of accountability, they saw mockery. What made the situation more complicated was that Lil TJ didn't appear to be spiraling creatively. He was still releasing music, still visible, and still capable of delivering moments that reminded people why they supported him in the first place. The issue wasn't talent, it was perception. Once an artist gains a reputation for being difficult, disrespectful, or unpredictable, that reputation tends to travel faster than the music itself. At this stage, Lil TJ's career sits at a crossroads. One path leads toward rebuilding relationships, taking accountability, and letting the music speak louder than the drama. The other leans into controversy as a strategy, using conflict to stay visible in an attention-driven industry. History has shown that while the second path may offer short-term relevance, it rarely leads to long-term stability. Ultimately, the hate Lil TJ receives today didn't appear overnight, nor did it come from a single incident. It was built piece by piece, moment by moment, through repeated choices. Whether this period becomes a temporary setback or a defining downfall depends entirely on what he does next. Looking at Lil TJ's situation as a whole, it becomes clear that this isn't just a story about internet hate, or people turning on an artist for no reason. It's a reflection of how quickly public goodwill can disappear when behavior starts to overshadow talent. At one point, TJ was seen as one of the most promising voices of his generation, someone who had survived real trauma and earned respect through perseverance. That version of him is still what many fans want to believe in. But in the modern music landscape, perception moves faster than music. Every live stream clip, every screenshot, and every viral moment shapes an artist's image in real time. For Lil TJ, those moments began stacking up in a negative way. Each controversy reinforced the last, making it harder for people to give him the benefit of the doubt. Even when he may have had valid points, his delivery and timing often worked against him. There's also the question of environment. TJ frequently spoke about his upbringing and the mindset that came with it, but critics argued that growth means knowing when certain behaviors no longer serve you. Being successful often requires adapting to new spaces, new rules, and new forms of power. Streamers, venues, and promoters are now gatekeepers in the industry, and clashing with them repeatedly comes at a real cost.
What's striking is that none of these setbacks were irreversible on their own. A sincere apology, a moment of reflection, or even silence could have changed the narrative. Instead, TJ often chose to respond with sarcasm, mirch, or further provocation. To many observers, it felt less like confidence and more like resistance to accountability. As an independent artist, Lil TJ now has complete creative freedom, but that freedom comes with consequences. Without a label to manage crises or shape public messaging, every decision he makes is amplified. Success moving forward will depend less on viral moments and more on whether he can rebuild trust with the very platforms and people he pushed away. For now, Lil TJ's story remains unfinished. He's neither fallen off completely nor fully reclaimed his position. He exists in a gray area where talent, controversy, and potential all collide. Whether this chapter becomes a cautionary tale or the beginning of a comeback will depend on whether he chooses growth over ego and music over noise. And so, this is where Lil TJ's story currently stands. A career that once felt unstoppable is now caught between talent and turmoil, between the artist he was and the one the internet sees today. None of this erases his impact, his success, or what he's already survived. But it does raise serious questions about where he goes from here. In an industry that never stops watching, every move matters and every decision leaves a mark. Whether Lil TJ turns this moment into a lesson or lets it define him is something only time will reveal. But one thing is certain, his next chapter won't be written by controversy alone. It will be written by the choices he makes after the cameras stop rolling.